For first order of business, set your projects. In Maya, you'll find this file, set projects. So you set a project, you find your Maya folder, and my folder structure, which I believe I have not actually shared it with you guys, looks like this. There's Maya in here, and then it just has 01 scenes. I'll show you guys this folder at the end of class. But basically, this is where you put your scenes, your textures, your renders, anything extra like sound, shaders, all that stuff there. Okay. So when you set your project, you have this folder called Maya, and you just click on the folder called Maya. So it has your main hard drive here, your project name. So wherever this is, like it's probably on your desktop, it's probably your name, your username, nat or whatever, and then it goes into Maya or whatever folder. But it's important that you just click on the default Maya folder that Maya creates for you. Well, actually, if you don't have a Maya folder and you create the Maya folder, or if you copy my folder system, you will simply click and follow what I'm doing right now. Simply click this and hit set.
What are you clicking?
Why is it? Oh, okay. Jeebus. It's actually just literally sharing this Maya window and not the entire. Okay, forget it. I'll just share the actual window so you see every window that shows up. Share entire screen, like we always have. Yeah, so we have infinite window there. I mean mirror. But here, right here, file, and you hit set project. And here's the Maya folder. So you have your hard drive, you have your name, username, whatever, and then CG Maya. It won't look like this for you guys. It'll probably just have your username, and then there'll be a Maya folder or whatever, however you organize yours. As long as you find the actual Maya folder and hit set there. And then from here, we will be referencing any rigs that I get from you guys. So whenever I review animations from you guys, you will set a reference on the rig. What this means is you have your rig, right? Wherever you guys get your rig, Turbo Squid, whatever. That rig is saved in a folder that I would say you should save it in a folder called reference. So in my folder structure, which again I will have you guys copy if you guys wish to. In my folder structure, there's this thing called reference here, and this is where I put all my rigs. So you even have characters, you have props. So if you go to characters, you can have your characters here. Whatever you're using, from CG Tron, whatever, you bring it here. And that's what we're using. We're going to use Maya to say, take a look at this file and animate from this file. We're not animating directly onto your rig. We are borrowing that rig and putting it into a new animation file. That's what referencing means. So basically what we do, once we set our project, is we go File, and we say Create Reference. And this is how the entire Maya animation industry works. Anything outside of this, really, is either they have their own pipeline set, or you're doing it wrong. Like, you will be looked down upon and will be, it's not good. Okay? I will explain referencing, the importance of referencing even better in a bit. Let me just show you guys what it means here. So I'm basically just going to go to my reference and grab the rig. So this could be the CG Tron rig that you have, and you just say reference. Okay? So we're going to bring our character in. Don't know why it's taking time. It shouldn't. And this rig is being borrowed from the actual rig. This is like a mirror of it, so to speak. One great way that referencing works is I cannot delete anything that is related to this rig. Ooh, blah, 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 stressful day. I hit delete by accident. There's this red tab that goes, it's a reference. You cannot delete it. Now, the difference here is if, like the old days we were doing, you send me a rig, right? And then I double click the rig. I'm going to use version 7 because I don't want to destroy it. So how we've been doing it all of last semester is I actually double click your rig files and I animate from them, right? And the problem here is if I delete this by accident, this is your actual rig and you'll lose that rig. Like, you won't have that controller forever and ever. Like, it's gone unless you are able to undo or whatnot. So that's one benefit of doing a reference. So again, this is the referenced rig, and this is the rig by itself. No, this is the reference rig. Let me just save as so I'm not confused. Saving it in animation. This is anim ref demo versus the rig that we're using. This is just ghetto, like double clicking the rig. So here's another thing that makes a big difference. I'm going to animate this guy, set a keyframe there, he's jumping, set a keyframe, he lands. I'm going to save this file. Save the file. So if you go to our folder where we saved it, and animation, anim ref demo, look at the size of the file. 65 kilobytes. What does that mean? Well, this means that when we saved our animation, the 65 kilobytes of data is basically only the animation we did. It's this little jump thing. Now watch what happens when I animate directly onto our rig. Select this, set a keyframe, make him jump, make him land. Save this as, save as, go to our animation folder, anim ref demo 2, save as. Go to that folder, anim ref demo 2 is the size of 58 megabytes. 58 versus 65 kilobytes. Now to you guys, maybe this doesn't matter, but size matters. You're going to have a lot of animation iteration. You're saving, you're saving, you're saving. This will build up. 50 megabytes. You're going to add more animation to that. It's going to be 100 megabytes. It's going to be a lot. All because you keep saving the actual product plus the animation. And on top of that, somehow in the scramble of things, you hit delete by accident, now you lose your controller. That's gone. You see the main controller, it's gone. Like it's not in the structure of my folder. It's literally it has been deleted. It's connected somewhere, but that controller is gone. And so is this if I delete by accident. And so is this if I delete by accident. Your rig is done. Your rig is destroyed. It's gone. If you keep animating directly from your reference rig, at some point you'll make a mistake. You'll end up pressing delete, or you'll end up doing a control wrong. You will lose your reference file. Whereas in safe land, you're animating safely, selecting, someone bothers you, kicks you somewhere, delete, nope, can't delete. Because this rig exists somewhere else and you're only messing with its phantom image. Safe, and very small in its file size. Okay? So that covers referencing. This is a must. So whenever we're going to check homework next week, you guys will DM me the rig, obviously. And it's on me to copy that rig into a reference folder on my computer. And then I will reference that to open up your animation file. More on this, you guys will understand more of this as we go through this process. Another thing I want you guys to be doing, File, Save, click on this box, click on Incremental Save. Now, some of you guys have been doing this in the past already. Great. This is almost really important too. Super important, this. And what this does is every time you hit Control S, you hit Save or whatever, it'll create a folder called Incremental Save. And what that does is it makes a copy of that animation every time you save it. So this was our first save, right? We did a jump. And then somehow in here, we're going to do a jump. And then he's going to do like a flip, flip, flip. And you're like, ah, I'm really happy with that one. I'm stoked. I'm going to save that too. Control save, Control S, right? So in our animation folder, yeah, you just saved over and it became not 57 kilobytes, but it became 65 kilobytes. So the file size is slightly increasing because you're adding more data, right? But not only that, you have that, but you also have in your incremental save folder a copy of that file. So now you have two files. You have one that you saved at 11:47 or 2:47 for you guys, or whatever time it is there. And you have another one a minute later. And you'll have another one 5 minutes later. You'll keep having these files that essentially serve as backup. And what's happened in the past, and will happen to you guys, probably have happened already, is at some point you're going to do something, and then Maya crashes. Files corrupted. You go to your file, you try to open your animation file and won't open. If you have not been incrementally saving or not backing up your work, you would have lost everything. You would have lost that file. Like, I mean, maybe you go to Dropbox, wherever you're saving at, or maybe you go reset your computer, go back to a certain time, you'll get that. But how inconveniencing is that? Even something, maybe a drunk roommate comes in, ooh, file demo, blah, delete that. Blah. Come back to your computer, where's my file? I don't have it. Well, at the very least, you go to your incremental save folder, and you can resurrect that. You can open this file. So if you go File, Open, go to my incremental save, Anim Demo, and now I find that. Because again, let me just reiterate that. I don't have my demo anymore. I deleted that. It's gone. Incremental save, demo, demo 2. Obviously, we don't save that because this file was lost. And you get the file that you saved, or you incrementally saved some moments before that. So that's another important method or move that I want you guys to do, incremental saves. Okay? So now, what else are we learning? We're going to learn the middle mouse button. This is, to me, the most important animation move ever in Maya. Okay? And what this does is it allows me to copy keys within this timeline. So, watch what's going on here. I have one jump. Just one. And now you're going to be like, hey, I want another set of jumps. So obviously you could go to your graph editor. Let me just check on Denzel real quick. Nope, he has not knocked. I could go to my graph editor and copy. Like I look at the pattern here. Here's when he's done. Here's another jump. I copy and paste. There's my jump. And then he lands again. Here's my land. I copy, paste. Yeah, sure, you can do that. So he jumps up, down, up, down. Great. You guys know that already. Quicker way here is just to use my middle mouse button. So if you notice in my timeline, I'm holding my left mouse button and dragging left to right to move my time, right? You guys see that? You guys know this. You hold your left mouse button and you drag on your timeline and you're moving your timeline and you have animation. Great. Watch what happens when I drag my timeline by holding my middle mouse button. Do you see how the timeline is moving, but the animation is not? You guys see that? Okay, makes sense? Cool. So now look, I select my jumping controller. If you look here, I have a keyframe here. He's all the way up there in his jump. And I'm going to hold my middle mouse button and drag it to whatever time that I want. So let's say 760. And notice, look, the animation isn't moving. I'm holding my middle mouse button. I'm moving my timeline. The animation is not moving. He's frozen there in that time. I let go of my middle mouse button here at frame 760, and I press S. What that does is basically freezes my character there, and then I'm able to set a keyframe however he's frozen at whatever time it is. So again, to further illustrate, now I have a jump up, a jump down, a jump up. I want him to jump down now. I can go to my graph editor, fine. Or I can just go to a jump down pose here in this timeline. There, I left clicked on that. And then I hold my middle mouse button. I drag it to wherever time I want that keyframe to be on. Say here, or 760, 780, whatever. I let go of my middle mouse button and I press S to keyframe it. So if you notice, the jump up and jump down is quickly replicated. Now, how does this even get better? Let's say we're doing a bouncing ball or a jumping guy that's like starting to get tired. I want that jump to just slowly go lower, 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 lower. This is not constrained to copying specific keyframes. This allows you to copy any moment in animated time. So I can go here where he's half jumped. You see here, there's no keyframe here. He's just halfway through his jump, right? And I get to middle mouse that and put it to another time. Say here, let go my middle mouse and press S. Now if you notice, if he jumps now, he's half jumped because we've literally just taken a moment from this time here and just copy it. Yeah, what's up?
So it's like copying keyframes that have no keyframes.
Exactly. So you're basically freezing whatever moment you see here. Whatever moment, any moment you see here. You can freeze that, middle mouse that, copy it here, press S. And now look, see he's floating because I've copied another floating one. And look, oh, you know what? I like that he's floating like Iron Man here. So let me just find another pose here where he's slightly higher than the one I copied. Middle mouse that, put it here. And now he's kind of like wobbling around in the air. Middle mouse, middle mouse, middle mouse, middle mouse, middle mouse. So what that effectively does is you get to animate and create poses out of existing poses already. You don't have to repose anything. You don't have to do anything. So anyway, okay. Maybe you'll understand that. But then what? Like, I could just copy stuff here. Let's add a little bit more complexity to this. Let's say we're in an acting phase, whatever. Okay, so we're gonna keyframe everything, and I'm just gonna make poses. Okay, so let's just say he's gonna do like a 3-point stance Iron Man pose. See, you got that? Okay, great. And then maybe he kind of like goes up here. I don't know, maybe stretches this way. Or whatever, okay? So then we're like, okay, we have our animation here. He reaches down, and then he goes up. Great. What if you want a moving hold? and you want to do it again. So he's up here, and then you want him to go back down. So you basically grab that file, that keyframe or wherever, like whatever moment here, he touches in, middle mouse that to say 735. So he reaches down, looks up, reaches down again. And then you're like, well, you know what? Let me do a moving hold here. So I'm going to do a moving hold. I'm just going to left mouse button and move my timeline here so that he's still in this crouch position at 760. Okay? So when I hit play, he reaches down, looks up, reaches down, and then it's kind of frozen there. But I want like an ease in, like a soft, like he's going to go down and then softly just ease in here. Watch this. When I hit play, he's frozen, like, right? He just kind of like stays there. But I'm going to add a little bit of motion there. And I'm going to find any one of these moments. You see here, like this little movement here. That slight completion onto this keyframe. I'm going to middle mouse this pose, the 733 pose. I'm going to middle mouse it to 735. And then I'm going to hit S. Let me undo it real quick. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the graph editor. So if you look here in the graph editor, there's progression of movement, and then there's just frozenness. See, like how this keyframe is very similar to that keyframe. There's no movement. He's locked. So if we do our middle mouse move, if I go 733, there's a little bit of that like right before reaching down. Hold my middle mouse button, drag it to 735, and hit S. Watch the graph editor. You see how the graph editor changes. There's a little bit of that slope going up and then this soft ease into that static pose. So when we hit play, reaches down, looks up, and you see that, like that soft entry. Now you're starting to generate new subtle poses like that. And this could even be replicated. Like let's say he's down here and we're like, you know what? I want him to kind of like be breathing while he's down there. So then you just move your mouse and find some place here, like where you see how he subtly moves there? There's a subtle movement there. I'm just going to middle mouse that and put that here. And I'm going to go back to 760, middle mouse that, put that here. Just find little movements, middle mouse that, put that here, and watch what happens when you actually do that. There's like this subtle breathing movement that you're able to accomplish. Now you're like, well, that's too subtle. You can go back to any one of these moves. Like, look at that. Like, see how much higher he's going up in that pose? You can middle mouse that. Let that be that pose. Goes up, higher. So, all this right now, you're kind of seeing it. It's like, whatever. It'll start to be clear the more we do this. Okay? Let's try to find something else, like a new thing. Same exercise, just another scenario. Let's see. Keyframe that. And then maybe he just moves to the right. So he just slides to the right. Fold that. So we have the sliding to the right, and then we will settle him. So we do like a follow through, slightly there. Reverse our controllers, and then follow that through so it folds a little bit forward, absorbing that momentum. The elbow bends a little bit. So that's the arm. The arm counterbalances backwards. This one flexes back out, and the elbow flexes back out as well. So there's a little bit of that settling in. This is not the best example for this MiddleMouse thing. Because I actually kind of did the... let's find something else. Let me just bring in an animation that way. Yeah, I'll bring in an animation that way we have something to actually look at. And when we come back from our little pause, we'll also look at... we will look at StudioLibrary. Okay, so let's just say we have a jump animation here. So he jumps, right? Happy? Okay. So he jumps, but we're like, you know what? The animation kind of dies. Like, it's just dead. Like, I don't want to animate anymore here. I don't want to have to go through here, make them fold again, blah, blah, blah. I can copy and paste keyframes, sure. But again, we can create new keyframes based on anything that exists here. So let's just say here, there's this moment where he's folded here. I'm going to middle mouse that to somewhere here in time, 740, 735. Hit S, keyframe that. Now when he lands, he starts to bounce back up. Bounce back down based on that. And then we're like, well, we want him to kind of move back up again. You see how he's like subtly moving there? I can middle mouse that and put that here. And that starts to generate all these new extra movements. Like he's breathing. And if you want, he can start to jump again. So I'm going to look at the set jump there. Middle mouse that, put that there. He sets again. I'm going to find another pose here where he's like, let me just do an ease in here. So he eases into that pose. I'm going to get this moment here, middle mouse that to here. Now I have an ease into that set. And then he's going to jump again. So he jumps. I'm going to find this pencil pose here. Middle mouse that to 765. Keyframe that. So he's going to jump again. And what else do we have here? He's going to be on his hang time here. So I'm going to middle mouse that. Put that on 770. Hit play. So you see how that enables you to quickly recreate anything. And yeah, like is that the same as copying and pasting keys from the graph editor? Not really. Because the difference with the graph editor is you have to have keyframes to copy out of. So for instance here, say we have this look here. Say we have this pose at 725. Ooh, I really like the way that arm is bent here at 725. Let me copy it from the graph edit. Where there's nothing to copy from the graph editor out of, right? Nothing there. There's no keyframe there. However, with our middle mouse move, with this pose, I can literally just middle mouse that, put that anywhere here, keyframe that, and now that becomes a pose. That pose does not exist in the graph editor as keyframe data, but that pose does exist as an actual positional look in Maya. Any one of these looks can become a pose. That look can become a pose. Middle mouse that. 797. Now we have that pose. Now we're like, all right, whatever pose. What else do we want as poses? So he flexes his arms that way, and then he goes back down to like flex it down here. Okay, cool. Flex it down here. Okay, cool. Set a keyframe there. And then you can tag on that. You'd be like, you know what? That pose is a little too old now. Just build on that pose. Tweak that pose a little bit. Maybe like make him punch down. So you're doing minimal effort, creating a lot of keyframes, being able to iterate, being able to ideate, because now you're able to kind of pre-visualize in real time, quick time, live time, fast time, whatever you want. So then here, you're like here, okay, so when he punches down, there should be a little bit of a jerk back here. How do I do that? Maybe I could just like repose here, go back here, repose that, blah, blah, blah. Or scrub your timeline, find something where there's a little bit of subtle movement there. That could be your jerk back. Middle mouse that to 810. So when he punches down, now he jerks back that way. You see that? And then you could be like, you know, like I don't want him like touching his belly there. Then you can just tweak that pose. But you see how quickly we can generate. You see that little like pull back? You can quickly do pullbacks without having to repose or generate poses or even go to graph editor, try to save that keyframe and copy that keyframe. Anything that exists as a look in Maya at any point here within this timeline can be created as a keyframe. So let's add another layer to this. We have 6 minutes. Let's add another motion system. Don't worry about don't worry about Good Graph. Don't worry about StudioLibrary. We're going to cover this. We're just talking about middle mouse button here and how we'll be able to generate a bunch of poses. So there's an Euler filter thing going on there. We'll cover that in a couple of classes as well. So he flips out. So he's bugging out. Okay. You see how any of these poses can become a thing? So let's say he's happy here. He's happy, and you're like, oh, you know what? He's just happy there. Let's use our graph editor, space this out. Because we really like this. We like that pose. But you see how he's frozen? So what I'm going to do is create a little bit of space here between these two keyframes. And now I could create another keyframe here, like this middle mouse here, middle mouse that to 830. Check your tangents. And now he's going to be doing that. So you can do a back and forth. Now he's going to be waving, and then he's going to wave back down. Middle mouse that, keyframe that. Copy this again, middle mouse that, copy that. So you see how you're able to keep replicating these patterns. Now you're like, well, it kind of like, yeah, I've copied and pasted stuff here, but it looks like he's just going up and down. Now, what if we just grab our center of gravity here, go to our graph editor, and delete this up and down movement? What'll happen then? Oh, look, it looks like now he's just waving instead of jumping up and down. And then you'd be like, you know what? Maybe his foot needs to be planted on the ground. So let me just set my FKIK and put this on the floor. Okay, Denzel's knocking. And now what do we have? So you see how you have a previous animation, and then you're able to just get scraps from other things and then recreate new things without having to like regenerate a pose or whatever. Look, I'm going to look for something else here. Let me scout this out. Oh, I like that pose. Now he's going to go there. Like he's going to go, you know what? Let's use that. We have our animation here. We're just going to middle mouse it here to 857. And now what happens? Boom, we got that pose. We go back to our to our graph editor here. What else do we like? We like that crazy pose. Middle mouse it to our timeline. Set S. Boom, we got that pose. So we're able to just keep making new things from anything that's visible in Maya, as long as you select your right controllers and all that stuff. Let me just copy this for Denzel. Oh, sorry. Need to bring him in to the room. Okay. So a lot of this is still probably abstract to some of you guys. Some of you guys, you're like, oh, I know where this is going, etc., etc. This goes many places. You can select different pieces here. We're just looking at the arm. We're like, you know what? Hey, look at that arm pose. I really love that. I love that it's folded and tucked in there. I like that arm pose, so I'm going to remember that number, 807. I like that pose. I like it here. I'm going to replace that pose. I'm going to put that to 845 here. I want this arm to be tucked in, actually. 807, middle mouse, 845, hit S. Now his arm's tucked in there. You see? Instead of the arm being outstretched. Okay, so a couple of final thoughts on this, but not final. We're going to keep doing this, obviously, on and on and on and on. This is going to be the entire semester. Ooh. Oh no. But why? It's to make it really obvious. So we have a certain pose here. It should have been a thumbs up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. This is so immature, right? Here. This hand gesture is too friendly for me. I prefer the other one down here. Where is it? There. Okay, got this pose. Not copying any keyframes. I'm just middle mouse to a certain keyframe here. Hit S. And all of a sudden it's there. Where else do we want it? Here. Hit S. All of a sudden it's there. He can't help himself. Okay. And then we're like, well, you know what? I don't like that he's pointing down there. I like the middle finger, but I don't like that he points his shoulders down there. So just select your shoulder, find another pose for that shoulder. That shoulder may be out here. Ooh, I like that the shoulder is out here. Middle mouse that to 845, and now, or here, middle mouse that to 852, and now he has his middle finger, but his shoulder pointed outwards. On and on and on and on. This could be a thing. Even if we're like, all right, let's look at the body. Body here. Let's just keep this pose here. I like that pose. It's nice, humble, whatever. Center timeline. Middle mouse that body pose to 870, and then middle mouse that again to 890. That way we have a hold on it. So see, he's held there. But look at his head. His head's doing something else because we didn't select the head controllers, right? We just have the body here. So let's do the body. And we're like, all right, let's do a little bit of breathing on that body. Let's find a little movement there. You see that little movement? Okay, we like that. That little movement there, we middle mouse it to the middle of the body keyframe here. Set a keyframe. So when you hit play, he's slightly moving and breathing. You see that? Now you have your breathing animation. No need to do anything more. Now let's look at the head. Select the head. Select that head. Let's find some poses for it. Let's see here. Oh, okay, yeah. That's a nice smiley one there. Middle mouse that to 870. 870 was where we put our body pose in. So let's look at 870 now with our new body pose, but with a new head pose. You see that? What's Julian about? Is he not part of in the thing? Okay. So we got a body, and we're like, all right, we like different head poses. Let's see what else other head poses we can find here. Oh, that goes crazy. That's to the left. There, maybe to the right. Middle mouse that to 880 or 890. Sorry. Now we have the body, and then he kind of like jerks his head that way. So you see how using middle mouse, being smart about it, starting to see, opening this game up. Of the idea is that if I select all my keyframes, and if there's any pose that I have that exists ever that I'm looking at in Maya, whether or not there's a keyframe or not. There's not a keyframe there. I like that though. I will middle mouse, drag my timeline, put it on frame 960 and hit S. It has become a new pose. Okay? So obviously you have to hit S. So he's like, let's just say we have this pose here, we middle mouse and we go to frame 1000. If you don't hit S and you left click on your timeline to move your timeline to look at your animation work, if you left click right now, you will lose that pose. Like it actually doesn't exist yet. You see that? Nothing is on 1000. You have to pick a pose, like that pose, whatever, middle mouse it to wherever timeline you want, frame 1000, hit S. Now that keyframe exists. And you see how we can quickly compound, add, supplement, ideate. Okay? Like this pose, look, that's mad. That's a crazy pose. Yes, I like that. Let's put that here on frame 975. But instead of being turned to the left, now I can manually turn it to the right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. He's crazy. You're like, oh wait, he turns to the right here, but there's that pose to the left that I like. Maybe he turns to the right and then turns to the left here. Okay? Let's find the one to the left. There it is again. There's the left one. Middle mouse. 985. Crazy to the right, crazy to the left. You know what? I want it to go crazy to the right again. Here's one here. Middle mouse. Set a keyframe. Crazy to the right, crazy to the left, crazy to the right. Is this starting to make sense? Still crazy? It is crazy, because this is crazy. Resets back. Don't like that reset pose? Let's change it. Let's delete that. Find another ending pose. Okay, like here. Maybe he goes to the middle first of his craziness. So I'm going to middle mouse that to here. So if you notice, crazy to the right, crazy to the left, crazy to the right, settles in the middle. And then let's find something where he kind of like ducks down because he's calming down. Let's see. Let's find a calming down. Here. He calms down here. Look, no keyframes here. But I'm going to hold my middle mouse button, drag my timeline there, and then hit S. And now from all the crazy, he settles in the middle, and then he comes down to settle down there. Now there's stuff in the arms where it's like flipping about. This is something that we'll cover in future classes, but whenever that happens, when you're doing this stuff, go to Euler filter or Euler filter, whatever it's called. And that effectively fixes that. So you now see, like, this could be your scrapyard. This is anything. If you make different poses, could be anything. You can start to organize your thoughts here. There he is. So then you're like, all right, he settles here, but I want him to breathe until frame 1050. So there's my breathe right there. One frame right before this, or 2 frames, let's just say, to make it really like more exaggerated. 2 frames there, middle mouse that to like 1020. Boom. Go back to 1006, middle mouse this to 1034. That way it bounces back to that breathing. Breathe, breathe down. Now let's make him breathe again to 1050. Breathe, middle mouse this middle, and I'm just copying that pattern. So what have we done? We've generated basically a new movement pattern from our scrapyard. And this is what I wanted to get at. And then from here, you can start to add your in-betweens. So when he goes crazy there, we're going to fold because we know this as animators, right? We fold our character inwards as he's about to spaz in a new direction. So you notice that my efforts here are very minimal. We can even do a follow through here after the fact. Now we're combining our traditional knowledge of animation with our MiddleMouse stuff. And then here, maybe he folds. And we're going to be like, you know what? His arms are way too up high here. I want it to actually start folding here. So yeah, you can manually fold his arm. Or you can select the arm controllers. Go back to your scrapyard. Find one where his arms are folded inwards. Like there. I should have remembered which keyframe I wanted to. Here we go, like frame 993. So find one where his arms are folded. Yeah, sure, whatever. Like that's a terrible fold, but whatever. Middle mouse it, 993. Hit S there. And now what happens? Raise the arms. Now he folds it back in. You see how that arm kind of like spins the other way? Go to curves, Euler filter. Clean that up a bit. Now he tucks his arms in. Now he breathes. And this is how I work. I do this. And I get quick results. And then from here, I build. From here, my animation instincts will start to generate in-betweens, follow-throughs. But even the follow-throughs and all that, you can generate just by, again, by virtue of finding the next frame. If you find the next frame, there's a little bit of movement there. That's your in-between or your moving hold or all these things. Okay? So, I've shown you this. Middle mouse button, the most important thing ever. You probably understand 30% of it, 40 at best. Who knows? It'll all come in practice. You need to learn the middle mouse button. Next important thing is StudioLibrary. So it's a plugin. If you just go search it, StudioLibrary. Okay, right there, StudioLibrary. This changes all the time. Download the most topmost version. Download that. You get that file. In your downloads, unzip that. Extract all. Unzip StudioLibrary. You get that folder. Copy that folder. It doesn't really matter too much, but it's best if you put it in your Maya. You can put in extra, and I don't know, is there scripts here? Mel scripts or whatever, or make a new folder, scripts. Or if there's a Maya folder like here, like in your default Maya, as long as it's Maya related, copy that folder into Maya. So in my case, you know what, I'm going to put it, well, I already have it, so I'm not going to worry about it. But copy it somewhere where you know where to find it. And from here, just grab the install and drag it onto your Maya, wherever it is, like here, viewport. Just put that in. It's on video, so you guys don't really have to do it right now. Just kind of follow what's going on. And what it's going to ask you first is there a folder where you want your StudioLibrary to be saved in? And you say, yes, there is a folder I'd like for you to put it in. And that folder, I would like it to be in my animation folder. So again, when I give you guys my folder structure, you will have Maya, you have scenes, and you will put your StudioLibrary folder in your animation. Because it makes sense, because that's where your animations will be. Put your animation there in StudioLibrary, okay? And save that. So what is StudioLibrary? StudioLibrary is basically everything. It'll save your poses, it'll save your control selections, it'll save your animations, which is really the most important. It saves your animations so that you can spit it back out to any rig that is the same. If you have a CG Tron rig, more than likely he rigged it in Advanced Skeleton, which I'm a huge proponent of. My character here is made out of Advanced Skeleton. So anything that is Advanced Skeleton, I can actually transport my animations because it's the same rig. Okay? So what does that mean? Let's start our StudioLibrary adventure. So what I want to start with in StudioLibrary first is to create my selection sets. Let's begin with that. So if you're new to StudioLibrary, you'll have none of this. You'll add a folder. And I'll add a folder for us called class for now. Okay? So it has a folder called class. And within this class is where I'm going to start to put all our stuff. In our character, I'm going to start making selection sets. So in this case, at least for me, I'm going to go to my Advanced Skeleton selector and just say select all from my Advanced Skeleton script. I'll talk to you guys more about this later. And what this does is it selects all my controllers, including the FKIK hidden controllers that are on the legs and on the arms. And that's important. You need to have that. We'll talk about how we get that from other different types of controller systems. I'm just kind of showing you guys the ease of setup here for now. Just quickly get to the meat and bones of this. So I have all my controllers selected. I'm going to hit add. Within my, select your folder first. Within my folder, hit add and say pose. Or actually no, selection set. And this is underscore all controllers or whatever. Or all, whatever your character name is. And it says here, 156 objects selected for saving. Yes, save that. Would you like to capture a thumbnail? Yes, you may if you want. You can hit yes, and it'll just take a screen grab of this, whatever angle it is. So you can tweak your angle, like here. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay, hit yes. That'll remind me that this is the all controller. Whatever. And you're going to be like, you know what? I also need to have a selection set for the arms. So go through each one. It's probably easier if he's set in his default pose, like this. So that you can marquee select arm controls. And you can add that. Selection set, arm underscore left or arm right, whatever. 16 objects selected, save, ignore.
What is the shortcut for how do you do that? That screen.
For which?
The screen with the character, the rig. The little screen.
Oh, this guy?
Yeah. Where's the shortcut for that?
Well, if you have your rig in Advanced Skeleton, and if you bring Advanced Skeleton, this is another thing. Like, I actually didn't teach you guys Advanced Skeleton, but if you go to, let's just to answer that question, type in Advanced Skeleton, download Advanced Skeleton. This is not relevant to any other rig, okay? This is relevant to a lot of CG Tron rigs, though, because he does rig an Advanced Skeleton. Okie dokie. So just download here. Latest version, Advanced Skeleton, download that, unzip it. So it's the same method we did with StudioLibrary. And by the way, he has a tutorial here, like how to install. Just watch that video too. But basically, you get that folder, unzip it, and you save your Advanced Skeleton in your animation folders as well, or script folder. And then again, drag to the viewport but make sure you have it in your custom tab here. So when you drag, which I'm going to show you guys right now. Well, it's still downloading. Jeez. Okay. How much longer is it going to be? It's going to be a bit. So if you drag it, if you drag the install folder, it'll make these icons. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just click this Vitruvian Man-ish thing. He doesn't have his legs out, but yeah. If you click that, this will be your advanced skeleton selector. Again, only relevant to advanced skeleton rigs. But if you're using CG Tron rigs, and a lot of rigs out there have been rigged in advanced skeleton, this will come to your benefit. You can even individualize these. Let's just say, if you really just want to have your torso, your chest selected, whatever, then that's fine. Add a selection set for chest. Hit save. See, one controller selected for saving. Hit save. Yay. Ignore the thumbnail, or you can click a thumbnail, just hit yes. Or you can also do a torso. Select your torso selection set, center of gravity there, add animation, and say torso. Nope, not animation, sorry. Add selection set, torso. Just see, I'm constantly checking here. 3 objects selected for saving, yes. Hit save. You're like, would you like to capture a thumbnail? Okay, fine. Let me move into the torso here and hit yes. Cool, okay. So how does all this work? Well, if you double click something here, watch what happens to StudioLibrary. It's going to complain. It's going to say no objects match when loading data. So you're like, oh, great. Sucks. There's like one condition that you have to do. You have to select a piece of that controller. Doesn't matter where, as long as you select a part of that, and then you have your setting here set to from selection. That's it. So now all I need to do is double click whatever. If I double click that, I select the chest. If I double click the torso, I select the torso. If I double click all controls, I select all controls. Right arm only, double click that. So it's just double clicking. I get to select whatever I need. And I do this all the time for especially all controls, because when I'm animating, again, when you're animating with a middle mouse button, you want to select all your controls, right? Unless you just want to middle mouse something from the right arm. Again, like if I want just a right arm, double click right arm right, there, just my right arm. Okay, let me middle mouse something that looks like that. Okay, arm down here, middle mouse that there, and then he's gonna put his arm down there. You see? Like, oh, and you're like, oh, okay, now he looks like he's gonna grab something from his pocket. So yeah, that's kind of a good idea. Okay, so let me just tweak that pose a bit so that it looks like he's grabbing something from his pocket. Okay. Double click arm right, curves, Euler filter, and you're like, you know what? Hey, I actually like that his hands are on his hips. Let me just use that as a pose. So hands on hips, and then I want him to hold here. So here, my animation starts to move here. I don't like that, you know? Let me just move everything for now. I want him to put his hand on his hips for now. So double click, again, make sure you have one controller selected, any controller from my advanced skeleton. Double click all controls, and I get to edit. So let me just move this animation back forward in time or whatever. And I really just want this hand on hip pose here. Hand on hip on frame 1012. Middle mouse that to however long I want my pose to be. Like right there, 1040, hit S. See, now he's frozen in time. And you're like, I want him to be breathing. So I'm only going to affect the torso. So I'm going to use my selection set called torso, double click the torso. Okay, we got our torso in a few moments. Let's just let Maya kind of marinate on that. Now we have our torso. And I'm going to look for moments here where his torso kind of moves. You see that? Here, right there. That's my breathing up move. I'm going to middle mouse that to 1015. So now he has his hand on his hip and he's breathing up. And I'm going to make him breathe down again. So I'm going to find a moment here where his chest is collapsed downwards. I'm going to middle mouse that to somewhere in here. Middle mouse that. And then this is the part where his torso's up. Middle mouse that into the middle here. And I want to find a part where his torso's chest down here. Middle mouse that there. So what have we just done? We've created hand on hip pose and he's breathing. Going crazy. Hand on hip pose. He's breathing. All this is too fast. Okay. Double click my all controls. Edit the parts where it's too fast. Here, he's breathing too fast. He puts his hand on his hip. Select the set. He's breathing too fast. Select my stretchy here. Stretch that all the way out to somewhere in here. Just to let that moment breathe a bit. Just Maya's kind of stuck right now. I just hit undo. Give it time to come on. There we go. Take it to 1110 or whatever, 1100. Double click my timeline, right click, and hit snap. Again, you do that every time you do the stretchy, which is the fourth icon from the left here. All right, so what have we done? Go crazy, left, right, hand on hip, breathing. Now he's back. You start doing this, and you're like, you know, I don't like the arm being here. Select the arm. Maya's still thinking. Select the arm here, plus selection set, arm, left, save, ignore. Okay, we have a selection set there, and then we're like, oh, let me find a pose here where the arm is maybe, oh, you know what? Yeah, like down there, like straightened out, that arm. Okay. So I'm going to put that arm, oh, yeah, oh, right there. Oh, I like there. Whereas the arm is down. Let's find one. Right there. Perfect. I just want the arm down. So at time 765. And I want that arm down to be here where he puts his hand on his torso. Right there. So at frame 1012, I want my arm down here instead of like a line up here. So at frame 1012, where the arm is down, middle mouse, 1012, somewhere near 1012, hit S. The arm goes crazy naturally. So we're going to go curves, Euler filter, clean that up. So he puts his arm down right there. And you're like, yeah, let's just tweak that from there. So of course you can go and repose if you want, but for me, sometimes I work in blitz fashion. Get things fast. Do that. Double click, select the arm, middle mouse it to 1100. Now we've frozen the arm. And again, you could keep doing the breathing thing. Look, like he's slightly moving his arm there. Yeah, I can put that in the middle and just keep middle mousing all this so that I complete the pattern of breathing with slight movement. So see, the arm's slightly moving. All wild. You kind of need to get your hands on this. So now we have an animation. Great, right? We go crazy, and we have breathing. We're gonna save these animations in Advanced Skeleton. I mean, StudioLibrary. Well, first of all, of course, you're going to save this file in Maya. So I'm going to do demo save, hit save, yes, version 2. Oh no, this is the incremental save, so I want to actually officially save it. So save as. So see, we're saving out of our incremental save. We don't want that. We got to go up to our animation folder and say anim ref demo 1. Hit save. So this is our animation file, okay? But we're going to save some animation patterns here that we like. We have two things. We have the going crazy and we have the breathing. Okay, so how do we save that? I'm going to use my all control selected. I want to do that because it saves everything that's even hidden. That way it locks everything. More on this as you guys keep working on this. You guys will kind of stumble about and find why I do things. I can't explain everything now because you won't really understand it until you're going through it. But how I do it is I select all my controllers. So again, select one piece of controller or any controller from your advanced skeleton rig. Double click your all control set, and now it's selected everything, including the hidden stuff. And what I want is to define my two different motion systems. So I like the part where he's going crazy here. So what's the first frame of crazy? It's at 975, right? I'm going to hit S here in order to keyframe everything in 975. I do it already by habit, but if you look here, certain parts of your graph editor don't have full keyframes. So I want a full keyframe. So I'm going to hit S there at 975. When does the crazy stop? Right there at frame 1006. I'm also going to keyframe that while having all my controllers selected. So set it S to keyframe everything. Boom. Okie dokie. So we have this animation system here that I want to save on Advanced Skeleton. So with all your controllers selected, and with all this, you have this class folder selected, you're going to go plus, animation, and you're going to set your timeline range here. So it starts at frame 975, and ends at 1006, 1006. And we're going to name this animation Crazy. Okay? We're going to hit save. And before you hit save, look at everything here. Look at your 156 objects selected. That'll give you kind of like a bell of just like, oh, good. Because when I select all my controllers, it's 156 items. That's what I want. Hit save. Would you like to capture a thumbnail? Okay, fine. So I'm going to move my camera so that it kind of like encompasses my character and hit yes. So now it's saving that animation data within StudioLibrary. And I'll show you guys the benefits of all this as we plod through this heavy lecture. I haven't even shown you guys the stuff you need to do for your homework. It's a bit heavy because my laptop right now is not performing to the same capacity as my workforce engine, but I do need to teach on my laptop because the monitor is smaller. You guys won't have to keep squinting your eyes trying to move in to see what you're looking at. This is as good as we can make it. It's long because I mean it's saving all the. You know what? I'll teach you guys how to optimize this even better later. For now, let's just agree to save everything on my all control set. So we have crazy in there. What else do we want to save? We want to save our breathing, right? Breathing hands on hip, okay? So breathing hands on hip begins at 1012. So again, I haven't done anything yet. I do not. If you like by some accident left click here, you're like, oh, I lost everything. Okay, then select a controller, then double click all controls. Okay, now I have all my controllers selected. Hit add animation and start at 1012 and finish at 1086. And make sure you set a keyframe on the beginning and the end. You see? Okay, so 1101 is where I want it to end. That's where I have my keyframe. So we ended at 1101. And this is breathe. You can even define it even more by saying hands on hips. Hands, hips. Because who knows, you might want to save another breathing file that doesn't have hands on hips. Whatever, right? At the very least, you're naming it something that makes sense to you. Capture thumbnail, yes. Breathing, yes. Okay, so it's saving. Where is all this going? So where you saved your StudioLibrary folder, and in my case, and which should be also yours, it should be in Scenes, Animation, a folder called StudioLibrary. And within here, you see the folders that we've saved. In your case, Class, there should be a folder called Class here under Animask. It's under my work stuff. Animasks, double click, Class. So you see how all your stuff is being saved as animation data. We have our animation crazy here. See that? There's your animation. Saved in here. Here's an image sequence of the thumbnail animation that we have. What does this mean? Well, it means that, let's just say you lost everything. Let's just say some rival of yours got a hold of your computer and said, I hate this person. They animate too nice. Let me sabotage their file, delete everything. Quite literally delete everything. And you know what? I'm even going to give them, I'm going to do my my StudioLibrary thing here. I'm going to go to my selectors and select my hand. I'm going to do a closed fist pose. Oh, because it's selecting all, sorry. Oh, wow, it really bent it out of shape. Yeah, because it's localized. Okay, hold on. Yeah, maybe we did wreck that pose. I don't have fist closed for some reason. Okay, we'll just do this. Yeah, I need to save a fist closed. And this will come in handy, right, when it comes to doing hands, so you don't have to select that ever again. But yes, I'm becoming the immature person that I am. I am the villain. There. Then I run away. That's the file that this guy's going to get. And oh, also I'm going to save it. Okay? So what happens here? You come in, they close Maya, coming into work, you say file, open my ref demo animation. Don't save that because that's the rig that we destroyed. So we're referencing our rig, perfect. Getting ready for the day, cup of coffee. Excited because animation works and animation's awesome. We worked all day getting our file. I love that. What the who? No. weep, tears, whatever, right? You have level 1. You can go, File, Open, Incremental Save, Demo Animation, open that. Yeah, we still have it. Great. Okay. So you saved yourself. But anyway, let's just say that your sabotager wiped out those folders as well. Obviously, he can wipe out, or she, they can wipe out your Studio Library folder too, okay? But anyway, this is besides the point. Your Studio Library becomes effectively a backup for your file and animation. So if you go to your custom Studio Library, and you're like, you know what? This person, as malicious as they are, actually cleaned out my file for me. Great. Because guess what? My file before was really busy. It had all that scrap stuff. And you know, I want to just animate fresh from frame 100. So thanks, villain. Thanks for cleaning up my file for me. I will begin my animation here now. So select one controller from my control set, from any one of my rigs. And I go to my class folder, and I'm going to go select all controllers. And I'm going to say, I'm going to put my breathing animation first, and then you'll go crazy. So you have all your controllers selected, and just double click on your breathe animation. All right, now we're breathing. And you know what? I want to make a loop of that. Let's do another breathing animation. Double click again. Awesome. So it's breathing, breathing, breathing. Okay? And then let's do a crazy. So double click the crazy. Okay, cool. So there obviously has to, like, you just need to clean up that interpolation there. But basically, there's probably like a tangent thing. Let's look at the tangents. Oh, the reason it did this is because we wrote over the last frame of the saved breathing animation. All this will become more relevant when we troubleshoot things. But basically, what you don't want to do is, you see how we've saved this? This is like, this saves all that pose here. And when we put a crazy, it deleted this major pose here, which basically started the animation from some other weird pose. So anyway, save a keyframe there, and then do the crazy pose. Or animation, sorry. And there we go. And you're like, you know what? I don't like, I want him to just kind of loop that crazy first. So I want him to go back to the right with a crazy. So I'm just going to overwrite this. You can do that. In the crazy, make sure your settings are as thus. Make sure that in your Studio Library here, when you select crazy and you're about to double click, make sure that the option is set to replace. And replace. That's it. Like, just follow my settings. Okay? Don't do any weird shenanigans. Just hit replace and just hit from selection. Okay? That's all you want to do. And you will be successful. Double click. Now it's adding the crazy. It takes a bit because the problem is I taught you guys to basically select all the controllers. What I actually do is I manually select all the controllers plus the hidden controllers. But for the ease of just selecting all controllers, I just use advanced skeletons. Select all controllers, which basically selects 156 versus like 72 on my end. And that matters. That number count matters for the speed of data retrieval. So what ended up happening? Because your file has been sabotaged, but because you saved your animations in Studio Library, you're able to basically regenerate something that's even better than what you lost. We have breathing, and he goes crazy, and we add another layer of crazy, and then he settles down. And then you can add your breathing again here. Just double click breathing all over again, if that's what you wish. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah. Can we see the window with layers? Is it making changes there, or it's just like a script?
What window with layers?
You know that it's like a window with you can view your layers and you can add layers.
That has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if it's also affecting that.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Okay.
So this Studio Library is contained within its walls here. Within the walls of this blue window, everything Studio Library related is relevant only within this window. Again, if your rig is different, it doesn't matter. As long as that rig is the same rig, as long as you make your selections, Studio Library will save it the same way. It'll just save it for that rig. If you gave me your Studio Library folders and stuff and I copy it onto mine, I won't be able to select my advanced skeleton rig because it's a different rig. That's all. That's kind of like the differentiator is. Like, rigs are rigs are rigs. This rig has its own naming convention, structure. It'll save its rigging convention and all that stuff within here. If it's a different rig, it'll save a different rig. It'll save a different selection set. So you'll have to kind of do the work to set that up first. But those are the major key points with the MiddleMouse button and with Studio Library. And again, based on our syllabus, those are the main two things that I use as an animator. I don't actually use AnimBot. I don't use any other animation tool. Those would be helpful, but I'm a simple guy. I kind of just tend to stick to a couple of tools, and that being only one tool and one method. One MiddleMouse method here, which is embedded in Maya, and your Studio Library, which is industry standard, by the way. A lot of studios use Studio Library, so if you get used to doing this, you'll get to know how the industry, for the most part, works too. And if they don't, then they have their own pipeline, which will basically kind of follow the same idea. Okay? So, what's our time looking like? 12 minutes. We're going to stop this demo here, 1 hour and 23, which basically covers all the essentials.